A little while ago, we here at Men's Rights Edmonton let people know that we had set up an anonymous online reporting form to give the victims of Karen Smith a place to share their pain. I said that I had suspected Smith of raping people all over the world, and to confirm my suspicions, we received more than 150 allegations of some of the most bizarre sexual violence I have ever heard of, all of which allegedly committed by Karen Smith, Executive Director of Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Now, I'd like to read you some of the reports that we got just to give you some kind of idea of the person that we're dealing with here. First, she dragged me down to the basement, then she started undressing me. She penetrated my anus with a family library card while smacking my head with a baseball bat. I was then already very seriously injured, but it wasn't enough for her. So she then took one of the library's children's books, ripped out every page, and made me swallow almost half of the book's pages. She then proceeded to urinate on my face while screaming, "Patriarchy, patriarchy, patriarchy." And then she finally ended the act by throwing coins at me and making me feel like a prostitute. I have no words to describe how humiliated, hurt, and sad I felt, and still feel as I am trying to recover from this. I just got out of the hospital a few days ago. I cut my wrists every day thinking about the act. If she doesn't go to jail soon, I think I might commit suicide. Please stop this sick woman now. Here's another one. I first met Karen Smith in a transgender bar in downtown Soho. I think she mistook it for a furry bar because she was dressed as a zebra, which made sense to me when she said, "I'm an equinophile." Not hello, not nice to meet you, just I'm an equinophile. Apparently this was exciting for her, hence the caps lock yelling. I decided not to have anything to do with the strange horse lady and left the bar. I thought everything was fine until I heard the clopping of galloping hooves approaching behind me, combined with the powerful, nay enraged, snorting of Karen Smith, rushing me from behind. I tried to fight back, but she is stronger than she looks, and she summoned help, 3 dwarves disguised as teddy bears, who promptly tackled my knees and dragged me into an alley where Karen Smith proceeded to undo her zebra zipper and produce the largest phallus I have ever seen, which, in retrospect, may explain her horse fetish. I know what you're thinking. If she has a penis, how is it Karen Smith? But as she pulled out the massive phallus, she said, "Prepare yourself for the Karen Smith Flesh Rocket Rodeo." Plus, for some reason, she showed me her face in 2 forms of ID. After she broke my jaw with her unbelievably powerful phallus, the dwarves slapped handcuffs on me, and they each took turns making bukkake on me as they chanted, "Ba Ram you." The attack finished when Karen Smith knocked me unconscious with her iron-hard phallus. But I know she's watching me, because every so often she sends one of her dwarven friends to follow me to the public restroom, wait outside the door, and start making horse sounds. This monster must be stopped before she strikes again. I'm just going to read one more of these because these are hard to take. I was in the public washroom near the pier of White Rock Beach at about 5 in the afternoon when Karen Smith violated me. I had been walking along the beach since about 3 and had to relieve myself. And while on the toilet, I heard someone else walk in wearing high heels and enter the stall next to me. I then heard them hurriedly undressing, followed by the sound of tightening straps and panting. It sounded like another woman, so I wasn't too concerned for my safety. I exited the stall and I walked to the sink, and as I began to wash my hands, the stall swung open, and in the mirror I saw Karen Smith storming out. She had a 2-pronged dildo strapped over her crotch and another over her mouth. She held a knife to my throat with one hand and unbuckled my belt with the other. Leading me back into her stall, she locked the door and roughly pulled my pants and underwear down. Then, like an injured insect, she curled herself into a C shape, plunging her face dildo into my mouth and her double dildo into my vagina and anus. As the singular dildo was being thrust down my throat, I saw the words 1 in 3 written on it. She continued ravaging every orifice and shoving 1 in 3 down my throat, cackling behind the rubber that covered her mouth. After the event, I lay sprawled upon the toilet, too traumatized to move. Eventually, I got back up and waddled home, crying over the fact that no one would believe me. Well, we believe you, whoever you are. And so does Karen Smith, because she told everyone that false allegations of sexual assault just don't happen. Now, in the last video that I did on Girl Rights Watch channel, I responded to a couple of articles written by Omar Mwalem. His most recent article was basically telling the people of Edmonton to ignore Men's Rights Edmonton, and it's not the first of its kind. On October 3rd, 2013, Gateway columnist Joel Aspden told his readers, "Take comfort in the fact that we as a city will cause their demise through our ignorance of their principles." That's right, Joel. Ignorance is strength. So basically, the feminists in Edmonton have finally realized that we were just using them this whole time for their sweet, sweet outrage and have now set their phasers to ignore. Maybe they're doing this because they are in control of themselves and they're just doing the mature thing by ignoring us and hoping we go away. Maybe it's because running to the press only got us international headlines and put us in Maclean's magazine, and lying about us only resulted in us straightening out those lies for everyone to see, and reporting us to the police did nothing at all. So now they're just fucking turtling. Or they just have more important things to think about, like how that Occupy movement is still as strong and effective as ever. Whatever the reason, the fembots are no longer a resource we can tap to generate publicity. So I'm reaching out to you, the people who support what we do. We here at MRE just have to remain current and remain talked about, because as the movement grows, more and more Edmontonians will find their way to us, and we'll have enough resources and manpower to do more than just stupid stunts and YouTube videos. We're looking to expand our online presence. So we need more subscribers to our channel and more visitors to our website. That in turn will give us greater numbers when we do things like ask for anonymous accusations against Karen Smith or get people to email copies of our videos to people as a form of activism. So please, if you're not the kind of person to subscribe to a YouTube channel, subscribe to ours. Get your friends to subscribe, like our videos, share our videos, go over some of our older ones and see how far we've come since 2012. I'll keep bringing you real-world activism because I'm Nick Redding with mensrightsedmonton.com.
Perhaps Karen Smith needs to talk to Sonar Yassa, an Edmonton cab driver falsely accused of sexual assault in 2006 by 4 female passengers who were out clubbing. Their reason for making the accusation? Yassa had told one of them to put out her cigarette, as smoking in a taxi is illegal. They then demanded to be dropped off then and there, and refused to pay the $13 cab fare. When Yassa protested, they called their friends and told them that Yassa had sexually assaulted them. The cabbie called police when a mob began to form, and the women repeated their accusations to the responding officer, who filed a report on the incident. But what do you know? Yassa had a camera installed in his cab, which had recorded the entire trip and provided incontrovertible evidence that the women had made the entire thing up. Why would a woman lie to police about rape, wonders Karen Smith? To save $13, apparently. Or because a man threw a flower at her, or because she was bored, or to divert her parents' attention from her failing grades, or because a man she'd had a one-night stand with a couple weeks before forgot her name when they ran into each other, or to convince her husband to move to a better neighborhood, or because she didn't want to pay for a cab and knew the police would drive her home, or so the police wouldn't drop her off at the psychiatric ward again, that would be Crystal Mangum, or because she didn't want to admit to her boyfriend that she'd spent the night cheating on him with 3 men, which was Hofstra. A lesbian activist in the U.S. carved Christian symbols into her own body and claimed 3 white Christian men had broken into her home, assaulted, tortured, and raped her. Irony of ironies, she staged the entire thing to draw attention to the cause of fighting homophobia and violence against women. The Edmonton Police Service said the posters demeaned and belittled rape victims. You know what, EPS? I've talked to a few rape victims, and if there's one person they typically hate almost as much as a rapist, it's a false rape accuser. Women who make false accusations, appropriate the horrible thing that some unfortunate women experience, and exploit that horrible thing to get out of paying $13. Those are the people demeaning and belittling the experiences of rape victims. And by extension, a justice system that refuses to punish women who lie about rape is demeaning and belittling the experiences of rape victims, and allowing false accusers to damage the credibility of every legitimate victim without any accountability for the harm they do. And it demeans and belittles a justice system that is supposed to protect all victims, including victims of false accusations. Now, how do they convince victims not to tell? Emotionally manipulating the victim to self-blame is a common one noted by Lysak. Or maybe he convinces her he thought she wanted it, and he was just confused about her consent. Or maybe he even guilts her into not reporting by claiming to be a regular guy who just made a single terrible error in judgment, but he can learn from it and become a better person. I would find it absolutely ironic if the myth those posters are perpetuating, that lots of guys just don't realize what they're doing is hurting someone in a crime, came from accounts victims have made to rape counselors after being lied to by their rapists. The rapist lies to his victim, the victim repeats the lie as if it's true, and then all of a sudden we have people thinking rapists rape women because they just don't know any better, but with enough education they can figure it out. And then you have a feedback loop where these posters essentially confirm to a woman that the narcissistic, sociopathic piece of shit who raped her really might be what he says. Just a regular guy who made one mistake, and not a guy who's probably done it before and will again. Because hey, these posters imply that this kind of thing happens all the time. And these posters also imply that men who would rape can learn not to do it. That's the positive message sent by these posters, that the small percentage of men who rape over and over and are responsible for almost all campus rapes, that percentage is actually a large population of regular guys who make one mistake and are capable of learning from it, or capable of being educated into not making that mistake in the first place. These posters do nothing to tell women what actual rapists are like, do nothing to inform them of the cluster of behavioral and personality traits associated with the recidivist responsible for nearly all campus rapes: narcissism, entitlement, superficial general aggression and violence. These posters, in fact, imply to women that the man who raped them might not be the repeat offender responsible for 90% of rapes, and that maybe he hasn't done it before, and maybe he won't do it again. And that's a dangerous message in a culture where, according to many, only 10% of rape victims report what happened to them. Because honestly, if I'd been raped and my rapist had been able to convince me that it was all just a big misunderstanding and that he could learn from it and wouldn't do it again, and I'd heard tons of public rhetoric implying, well, yeah, that kind of thing happens all the time, I might not be willing to put myself through the grueling process of reporting just for my own sake, or to destroy a regular guy's life over one error. But if I knew that 90% of the time he's done it before and will do it again to someone else, I can be damn sure I'd be thinking about all his past and future victims and schlepping myself down to the police station to report.
After she broke my jaw with her unbelievably powerful phallus, the dwarves slapped handcuffs on me, and they each took turns making bukkake on me as they chanted, "Ba Ram You." The attack finished when Karen Smith knocked me unconscious with her iron-hard phallus. But I know she's watching me because every so often she sends one of her dwarven friends to follow me to the public restroom, waits outside the door, and starts making horse sounds. This monster must be stopped before she strikes again.
Do that one over again.
Okay. I think she mistook it for a furry bar because she was dressed... This is too fucking funny. Subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe.